BMW 3 Series Gran Limousine and get you a glimpse of the most powerful mid-engine Porsche ever made. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini. That just before the pandemic in 2019, Ultraviolette, a Bengaluru-based startup, promised us India's first electric superbike. But we've had to wait 3 long years for its production-ready model. It's finally here. We're here to find out whether it was worth its wait.
Some of you may remember that Ultraviolette is a Bengaluru-based startup with some funding from TVS amongst others. And in 2019, they presented us with a prototype that claimed to be India's first electric superbike. With an 8+ second 0 to 100 sprint and a top speed under 150 kilometers an hour, it was anything but a superbike. But compared to the other electric motorcycles of the time, be they merely assembled or thoroughly engineered, the Ultraviolette stood out with its KTM-derived chassis and handling package, a unique yet natural soundtrack, and an exciting powertrain which was comparable to some of the quicker 250s when it came to excitement levels. But Ultraviolette couldn't do good on their promise of delivering the F77 by 2020, and the pandemic was only half the problem, with engineering and production constraints being the bigger challenge. But they seem to have found solutions in not watering down the product but actually enhancing it. This is the production model, and yes, it has a pretty tall asking price, but the fit and finish looks premium, and so are the specifications.
For starters, it's lost its party piece, its conversation starter, the removable battery pack, and that cool door for the battery compartment which would nicely open out. That is gone. But in place of those theatrics, what you get is a really massive battery pack, one of the largest of its kind on an Indian two-wheeler.
What has also changed is that jet-inspired sonic sound from the powertrain, which is present but quieter because of a more refined transmission. It still sounds quite unique though, which is good news. The powertrain itself comprises of a more powerful motor now, which gets its juice from a massive 10.3 kWh battery pack. In my previous F77 review, I had said that they should aim for at least a 200 km range. And with this new battery, that claim is over 300 km now.
Now you will have to carry your charger around all the time, but the good part is the booster charger, which is the faster AC charger that you can buy, it works with a regular 3-pin plug as well, and that will give you about 75 kilometers of range and about an hour of charging is what Ultraviolette says. Also, the charging socket, it is similar to Ola's. So if you are able to find the Ola hypercharger network and if you are somehow able to get that gun to work with this, well, the hardware is compatible. Now as for the booster charger or even the regular charger, if you are to carry it around, if you remember in my previous review I said that you would have to lug it around on your backpack, but no, now you also get the option of 2 panniers. But again, electric vehicle designers are constantly fighting for each and every bit of aerodynamic efficiency that they can get out of the vehicle, right? So with 2 big panniers, of course, it is going to reduce that aerodynamic efficiency. It is going to take a toll on the overall range, especially when you're riding out on the highway. With that kind of a massive battery pack, the dimensions for which, however, remain unchanged whether you go for the smaller battery or the bigger battery, there is, of course, a lot of weight. Choose the smaller battery and the overall weight of the motorcycle is 197 kilos. Choose the larger battery, which is about 10 kilos heavier. That is the only differentiator for the weight. This is 207 kilos then.
There is a reverse and a forward mode which will work like an assist in situations like these. But using these can get a little cumbersome and time consuming when you want to make a quick 3-point U-turn on tight roads like these. These reverse or forward riding modes also restrict the speed to 5 km an hour. Meaning you have to again stop, disengage the mode and then continue riding. Once on the move, the F77 doesn't feel as heavy, be it the racetrack or the tight mountain roads. The weight management is that good considering the entire powertrain weighs about 95 kilos. The F77 is very manageable around the hairpins too, and the linear power delivery also helps. Transitioning from side to side for switchbacks is quite easy too. The more rounded profile of the new MRF tires also contributes to that effect.
Two components make a debut on this motorcycle. One are these MRF steel brace tires. I have never heard of them before, but I was super impressed on the track. The other component that makes a debut on this motorcycle are these 41mm upside down forks from Gabriel. Of course, these might go to other motorcycles as well, other motorcycles in a similar space. We don't know just yet, but out of the box, the suspension setup is also quite good.
The suspension is set up on the firmer side though, and how it behaves on poorer road conditions or with a pillion and luggage remains to be seen with a road test. There are 3 riding modes in all: a really dull glide mode which gives you about 1/3 the power, a combat mode where you can sort of optimize the range and the performance by using 2/3 the power, or the ballistic mode where you can go all guns blazing. The riding modes only affect the power, its delivery and the battery management, and can be changed on the fly using the thumb starter. The regenerative braking gets its own 3 modes though, which need to be accessed from the fairly intuitive instrumentation.
In low mode, it's as good as coasting. So there you are having to trail brake more often, having to use that rear brake more often. But then the medium mode sort of gave me a little bit of assistance in that deceleration from the motor itself. And then the high mode, that is where it felt a little bit more natural, almost like an ICE vehicle, where I could completely rely on the regen and the front brakes, not even have to tap the rear brake at all. And that's the mode I enjoyed the most. That is where I started picking up a lot more pace because I was able to enter corners a lot more confidently.
Ultraviolette claims that the yearly maintenance for the F77 could be as low as Rs 5,000. So when you actually do the math, compared to other premium motorcycles with a petrol powertrain in this particular price bracket, you could actually end up saving a lot more by investing in a stall asking price.
Well, there you have it. That's India's first electric superbike, which is ready to hit Indian roads. But are you ready to give it a shot? We'll be back after a very short break to tell you what's changed in the BMW 3 Series Gran Limousine. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, the BMW 3 Series Gran Limousine has gone on to become one of the top sellers in its segment, and that's also because amongst its rivals, this is the only sedan that offers a long wheelbase variant. Now, BMW has decided to give this a new face and also some tech updates. Tuhin will tell you all about it.
Now, with this being a facelift or a life cycle intervention, as BMW likes to call it, most of the changes to the 3 Series are minimal, and they're centered largely, at least on the outside, around the front of the new sedan. So what you see is a slimmer, more condensed sort of LED light cluster. It's got sharper elements, although we like that purer design of the earlier one a bit better, but this is the new look for all BMWs, and that clearly shows with these inverted LDRLs that have become a signature throughout the range. Moving on, you have a slightly reworked grille. It's marginally larger, wider, but a more distinct change are these double sort of ridges that you find there. So it looks a bit more distinctive than before. Expectedly, the side profile remains largely unchanged. You get those same smart 18-inch alloys with their staggered sizes, and the silhouette is quite cohesive for an extended wheelbase car, retaining the typical rear drive sedan proportions quite convincingly. Some minor changes to the rear round things off, like the new bumper with its more prominently shaped ornamental diffuser. Now, the changes to the inside of the 3 Series facelift, the Gran Limousine, are again minimal but fairly significant. Now, the most immediate one of these is this giant new iDrive 8 touchscreen infotainment system, where you have this really big 14.9-inch touchscreen and this 12.3-inch instrument cluster. And yeah, it shares this layout with the electric i4 now, and that has brought with it some changes to the center console as well. For example, you have these wider vents now with the climate function now in the screen, and these smaller simplified set of buttons here for the audio controls and the volume. And then when you come down here, you notice that the really nice stubby gear lever that you've come to expect in BMW is gone now. You have this sort of rocker dial, which isn't quite that nice to use, but it's the new way, so we'll just have to live with it. Now, as for this instrument cluster, it's got those really sharp, crisp graphics. There's a bit more information now than earlier from the earlier system. And yeah, you do have some level of customization now too, in terms of the way the layouts are. So it's a slight improvement from what was there earlier. Now with this facelift, even the 320 LD, you have it in the sportier M Sport trim, and that comes with a few changes that you didn't find in the diesel 3 Series Gran Limousine before this. Most notable of these are these M sort of enhancements. So you get this M steering wheel. It's exactly like what you would expect in a BMW, large, nice to hold. You get this headliner, which is again an M specific sort of enhancement. And then you get this lattice pattern here in the center console, which looks quite nice. It's nice and textured, and it does uplift the cabin, which is otherwise quite plush and luxurious. And this does give it that slight sporty touch. The rest of the cabin remains unchanged, so the materials and finishes are about the best you can find in a car like this. You sit low with the large wheels set at just the right position, and there's still good visibility. Now the 3 Series Gran Limousine is a big draw because of this rear seat. So you have that added 110 mm of wheelbase, which has added 74 mm to the legroom. So it is the same as before, and to be honest, the experience has remained largely unchanged here with the facelift. The facelifted BMW 3 Series Gran Limousine continues mechanically unchanged with the same powertrain options. So you have the 320 LD as seen here with its 2-litre diesel making 190 PS and 400 Nm, as well as the 330 Li with its 2-litre petrol with its 258 PS and 400 Nm. Both pair with the ZF 8-speed automatic. Now, as you would expect, the 3 Series in this facelifted form drives nearly identically to the way it used to before. Although a change with this update is that the 320 LD now also gets all those M Sport enhancements, which means that this diesel, this 2-litre diesel, actually sounds quite nice now. We've never experienced this version of the 3 Series before, even in Gran Limousine form. And of course, it's always been very silent and refined. But now there's, if you can hear it, there's quite a nice rumble to the engine, quite unlike a diesel. In fact, it's probably one of the better sounding diesels that we've actually heard in a very long time, which is surprising, and it's a really nice touch. It really goes with that whole BMW sports sedan theme. And to add to that, there's for some reason a launch control function. It's fun as usual. You put the traction on this traction mode, the sport drive mode. The gearbox is in the S mode. Foot hard on the brake, hard on the accelerator, launch control active. Although how much you'll use it in a day-to-day setting is debatable, but it's there and it's something to brag about, and it really does work well. As for this motor's performance, you have the clean linear wave of diesel torque, which means that in any situation, the 320 LD has a good reserve of performance on offer. It also revs quite briskly for a diesel, which is great on a highway cruise. Although if you truly want to unlock the 3 Series' engaging performance, the 330 Li is the better pick. That said, it's hard to argue with an 11 kmpl city and near 15 kmpl highway mileage number. Now the M Sport enhancements seem to have also slightly reworked the ride and handling character of the diesel 3 Series. So the gearbox, in the earlier 3 Series we drove the luxury line one, it seemed a bit less alert to downshifts. It wanted to hold on to a higher gear, which this gearbox, at least in this tune, doesn't do it as often. And of course you always have that S mode, so when you want those really quick, shifts with a real kick in the back, that's always there. But even in the D mode, it's a bit more alert, it's a bit more on the boil, so to speak. And the same can be said of the suspension setup also. It's better balanced, we feel. The facelifted BMW 3 Series Gran Limousine then manages to bridge the fine line in this transitionary phase for the brand. Yes, it's taking on a new look and tech bits that will define BMWs of the future, but that fine symmetry between performance, engagement and comfort that makes any 3 Series so appealing is still fully intact.
It's time to slip into our final commercial break, but on the other side, we'll get you a glimpse at the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 RS. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, while Porsche Cayman GT4 RS variant was launched in the country way back in May of last year, we didn't really get a chance to see the car in flesh, but Porsche has finally brought this car to India and we got a chance to get a closer look at this car at the Porsche Festival of Dreams, which was a celebration of 75 years of this iconic brand. Here's all you need to know about the car.
This may look like a garage, though it's not. It also says Garage 718. That's because the 718 has just driven from here and it's parked there. You already know the 718 GT4. This is the go faster version of that. Uses the engine from the 911 GT3, but there's more to it than just the powertrain. So of course it is lower, it sits lower, it also sits on a wider track than the 718 GT4, and you will also see a lot of aero parts on this, the way the dams are laid out, the exposed carbon fiber, even the Porsche shield is simply pasted onto the bonnet to save weight. It's not that typical 3D shield, it's more like a decal. Then you will also see all these vents even in the bonnet for improving not just aerodynamic efficiency but also the cooling efficiency for the brakes, for the powertrain, etc. You'll also see this massive air intake in place of the rear quarter glass. More intakes, more vents. You also see these 20-inch wheels. Now you can also option this vehicle with magnesium wheels if you so wish. You'll also see the central nut right there, a single central nut. That's again coming from the track spec design. You'll see more carbon fiber here, and I think one of the most beautiful angles for this car is of course the rear end. Just look at the size of that spoiler. It's also got these gooseneck mounts. And there you see the GT4 RS badging right there. So of course this is not based on the 911, this is based on the 718 Cayman. It's only based on the Cayman Coupe. There is no other variant as such, no other body style, only the Cayman Coupe that gets the GT4 RS treatment for now, which means that this 4-litre flat 6 engine that's derived from the 911 GT3, this engine is mid-mounted because Cayman. It puts out about 500 PS of power, 450 Newton meters of torque. But the real beauty is, compared to the regular 718, just waiting to get in, the real beauty is there. Look at the rev counter. Look at the red line. 9,000 RPM. Oh my god, this is something that I'm waiting to drive. This is the zone I want to be in, the 8 to 9,000 RPM zone. This is where I want to really listen to the engine. It just sounds beautiful. Anyone who's driven the 911 GT3 will know what I'm talking about. So this is the real big deal. You get that extra 1,000 revs over a 718 GT4, and that's the big deal for this car. So really waiting to drive it. You'll also see the Y-Sack pack on this, so there is a lot of carbon fiber trim. You also get these beautiful seats. You also get the roll cage at the back. So this is the cabin. Nice tiny display. You do get AC vents, so all that roll cage and these buckets would make you believe that there would be no AC vents, but there are AC vents. You also see that centrally mounted clock, the trademark Porsche style. Beautiful steering wheel there, Alcantara lined, and that lovely key again. So that is the cabin for you. So yeah, the GT4 RS is the highlight of this show right now, and we hope to drive this car real soon, and then we'll talk about what those large wheels feel like on the road, what the stiffer suspension feels like on the road, what the lowered bodywork feels like on the road. Does it even do justice to this car? That is something that we are going to find out. Or is it only good for the track? It's all that we will find out soon with a road test, hopefully as early as next month.
Well, that's that's it then from us on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter as well as YouTube, and you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, ride and drive safe.